Hey guys, good Wednesday morning, March 6th. Michael Clark here with BAM Weather on your latest long-range forecast update. Been a few weeks since I've come on and done a video, and kind of as we're getting closer to the planting season and getting out and getting in the fields and getting some work done. That's primarily the motivation behind my video today, other than the fact that, hey, maybe we have a mid-month blast of colder air for a time as well. Just a reminder that it can still get cold in March, right? So let's take a look here at the latest Clarity radar this morning. A big swath of rain here across the mid-Atlantic, the East Coast, and heading up onto the north and east. Flash flood warning there for Atlanta. You don't see that too often. There was also some locally very heavy rainfall across the Ohio Valley last night. It was kind of sporadic, but actually let's go to the 3-day total, because there's been some heavier rains across Illinois and across Indiana as well. Just again, isolated in nature, but has been some locally heavier amounts, as you can see here on Clarity. You can kind of click and get the totals there for how much rain has fallen. So I'll come back to Clarity in just a moment, because we've got a multi-day severe weather threat for the Deep South that I'll talk about. But first and foremost, just here over the last, 30 to 45 days, things have gotten pretty dry. In fact, this is the soil moisture percentile. You look at how dry it is. And really right across the heart of the grain belt in the Midwest, it's very dry. It's gotten very dry. Now, we do have a legitimate shot of rain this weekend for probably the southern half of this dry area. Maybe even a little bit more than that. But nonetheless, soils have gotten really dry here, guys. I'm going to put this here. Look at 30-day total precipitation anomaly, and you can see the driest has been across Arkansas, Louisiana, East Texas, Southeast Missouri, Southern Illinois. Now, again, I do think we're going to go to work on this here this weekend in the short term with added precipitation chances here. You can see the European computer model. Here's the first wave that moves out. Second wave moves in Thursday night into Friday morning, waking up Friday and throughout the day Friday. Heavy rain, area of low pressure going on across really the driest regions there. So offering up precipitation, no doubt about it. Snow on the north side there in the Central Plains. Rain works as far north as central Iowa, northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin, and the Great Lakes. And then that low that you see down across the south, that's going to bring the potential for severe weather, possibly some tornadoes, and behind it, a cold shot of air. In fact, by Sunday morning, temperatures are going to be pretty cold. That storm system will make its way up to the East Coast. Interior snows up into the interior northeast, rain along the coast. And then the cold front comes in on the backside with backside snow next week. We can't rule out getting into mid-March, late March, that a coastal storm is not out of the question. But check out here day 8, 9, 10, the European, another storm system lined up here. And looking at just overall at the European computer model, in the 1 to 5, it's wet, right? It's wet, especially across the Deep South. And then in the 5 to 10, there's another storm system that wants to try and surface here into the Central Plains. Again, we go here to our severe risk. We'll go to day 2. That risk is building out across Oklahoma, Texas. Tornado risk is surfacing along with a hail risk and a wind risk as well. That threat moves east by day 3, a deep south severe weather potential there. And then by day 4, that actually moves further east into Georgia and South Carolina. So an active pattern for the deep south and some severe weather chances certainly on the table there. Here's a look at favored 7-day rainfall guidance right now. I really don't have a reason to go against the thought process here. Again, this area here across Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, especially Missouri and Arkansas, much needed rains here for soil moisture replenishment, and it looks like we're going to get it with an inch to locally higher amounts here being on the table. Okay, week 1 and week 2 outlooks: temperatures on the top, precip on the bottom. Week 1's the left, week 2's the right. It's warm. Either way you spin it, it's warm. And week 1, it's wet where it's dry, which is good, all right, in terms of the percent of normal. Week 2, it's a little bit less of an active pattern. There's a storm system there in week 2, but into late week 2, weeks 3 and 4, the pattern potentially turns drier yet again. And again, this is something I want to reiterate, that Um, our outlook right now for spring favors March to be the wettest of the 3 months of March, April, and May. I'm seeing indications of a drier April, certainly surfacing, and which to me indicates that planting progress probably is ahead of schedule, or at least normal this year. I don't see any big delays or concerns there, but I do see a colder pattern evolving, cooler than average, at least for a time. Our teleconnections indicate the PNA, the EPO, the technicals here indicate a cooler, drier pattern is coming when we look at those. And it's evident, day 14, day 13, 14, 15, a colder shot's coming in. And for a time, I think temperatures can run below normal to end the month of March and start the month of April. In fact, we might even run above normal in the HDD department, forecasting 250 HDDs versus the 10-year normal at 225. All right, there is a cold shot coming. It's supported. When we look at our late month teleconnection setup, if we have these four PNA, EPO, NAO, AO, these teleconnections that we refer to for forecasting longer term patterns, this is what the pattern looks like. It's dry and it's cooler. Okay, so you could argue that might carry over into April. In fact, our April forecast carries that over. It just moderates a little bit. It gets a little bit warmer as these teleconnections tend to relax a little bit. Is there a late season snow that's possible somewhere across the Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, Northeast with the cold shot coming in around the 20th of March? Yeah, it's not off the table. I believe a similar analog year to this coming cold blast is 1990. In 1990, Indy got 1.2 inches of snow on March 20th, I believe. So it's not out of the question. There's a late season snow. Outside of this, you can see that the models, again, do line up with, there's the analogs, and the models are lining up with the analog look here, a cooler, drier look as we get late month into April. All right. I wanted to pull up the CFS page for you. This is the current precip forecast for March. The CFS, I don't have no reason to question it. Again, there's for April, if you will. There's the current projected outlook for April. That's a relatively dry look for the month. And indications and research, I really don't have a big reason to go against this. And looking at the temperature forecast, gosh, it really looks like a lot like ours. I mean, I just don't have a reason to not buy into this right now for that reason. So the other thing here too is I want to show you the weekly. Here's weeks 3 and 4. This is March 20th, 26th, and then 27th to the 2nd. These are relatively dry as well. Okay, they are cooler. There's no question. I think we end the month colder. I don't have any reason to disagree with these outlooks whatsoever. In fact, I really like the way that they look. So here's our forecast. Here's our updated weeks 3 and 4. It'll remain cooler with an active pattern along the coastal southeast and eastern U.S. Again, a mid to late month nor'easter, winter storm of some sort is not off the table. The pattern would support something. So keep that in mind. And severe weather probably remains a little bit above normal, at least to the deep south, in my opinion. But cooler east, warmer to the west and northwest. No Iowa, Minnesota, the Dakotas, Nebraska. We're favoring above normal temperatures, and then we're favoring much above normal temperatures to work into that area as well as we get deeper into April. April's cool to the south. It's also where it's wet, but we think it's drier. And it's probably warmer than average, which again is why I believe a lot of this super wet spring talk I've been seeing, I don't understand it really for the most part. It hasn't been exceptionally wet the last 30 days. And outside of a couple of storm systems, the overall indications are a drier pattern at risk here going into April through multiple methods. I snatched this graphic from at KANNBWX, Karen Braun on Twitter. She puts out great graphics. This is not my graphic. This is her graphic. But I wanted to look at some of these most recent years and their planting progress, years that we really are kind of looking at. I'm looking at like 15, 16, perhaps 2020, are a couple of years that we've looked at for potentially them being an analog. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to look at what did they do in those years for the planting progress. Well, if you look at 15, here's 15 right here. Okay, we're getting into April and May. Here is 20 as well. And then 16 is right there with it. Nonetheless, these years are above average in planting progress speed. And so the years I'm looking at, to me, tell me that planting is normal to faster normal pace this year, and there's not a lot of issues in the weather department. In fact, if there are issues, it's deeper into the spring where there's a lack of moisture, where we're going to need rain possibly, and then that may turn on for summer with some heat, like 2016 did. If you watched our webinar and our outlook, you would probably know that. That's my outlook for today. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to us, share it with a friend. We'll talk to you soon.